My millionaire man loves to spoil me, and a comment recently made me think about my dating life before him. This comment to me reads that if you want to be a spoiled girl, you have to look the part. I talk a lot about mindset and self-confidence because I think that's the foundation. But once the internal framework is there, we also have to address the elephant in the room. External presentation does matter. When I look back on my dating life, I noticed a pattern. I have never been asked on a coffee date when I am dressed up at a nice restaurant or a cocktail lounge. But when I'm walking a trail with my dog, that's when the coffee date invitations come up. Last summer, I was walking my dog on the trail one evening, and suddenly this guy on a bike cut right in front of me and literally blocked the path. I was just thinking, okay, what's gonna happen here? He takes off his helmet and he's like, well, hello. And he tells me that he's seen me walking on the trail before with my dog, and that he told himself if he ever saw me again, he just had to stop me and introduce himself. So we chat for a minute and he asks me on a coffee date. I told him that I don't drink coffee unless I'm working, and he was like, oh, well, you can grab a tea or a matcha. Then he asks what kind of places I like. And I start listing off a bunch of upscale bars and restaurants, and he says, oh, you like nice places. And I was like, well, I like to eat good food. I like to drink great drinks. I like a good atmosphere. But this man genuinely looked surprised. And he still tried to push for a coffee date. And at that point, I gave him my number just so that I could get rid of him and continue my walk. And I later blocked him. But I'm all about pattern recognition. And I noticed this pattern, like whenever I'm on a walk with my dog, I will get stopped, I will get approached by guys to go on coffee dates. But that moment made me realize something. He approached me based on the version he saw in that moment. A girl walking her dog on the trail in a workout set. So in his mind, that reads as, oh, this girl must go on coffee dates. She must be chill. Men approach you based on what they believe your standards are. And your presentation communicates those standards before you even speak. And part of that presentation is how you take care of yourself. For example, looking fit. A lot of the men that I was dating were disciplined in their own ways. They work out. They take care of their health. They take care of their business. CEOs, entrepreneurs, VPs, directors, they get shit done. So, of course, naturally, they're attracted to a woman who takes care of herself. And another thing I noticed is elegance. A lot of the men that I dated would compliment me on how elegant and classy I appeared. They loved when a woman looked put together and classy. A beautiful dress, heels, good posture, taking pride in how you present yourself. It just signals a certain level of respect, self-respect. And environments matter just as much. If you want to meet a certain type of person, you have to go to the places where those people hang out. For example, in a big city, there are always business conventions happening, but there are also a bunch of professionals. So places like steakhouse bars, upscale cocktail lounges, nice restaurant bars, art gallery openings, industry events. Those are naturally places where you'll find those types of people. You can almost reverse engineer the lifestyle of the type of man that you want to meet. I will say something interesting though, which is that even though environments matter, sometimes you meet the right person in other ways. For example, I didn't meet my boyfriend in real life. I met him on a dating app. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have met him otherwise. When I met him, he was spending a lot of time at the climbing gym. He runs 5 miles a day, either at the treadmill at the gym or out and about in the city. And those are just not any environments where our paths would have crossed. Regardless whether you meet someone in person or online, the same principle still applies. How you present yourself, the standards you communicate, and the energy you bring into dating. The other thing that shaped my dating life was expectations. I've always expected to be treated well. nice dinners, thoughtful dates, generosity. So if a guy said something that contradicted anything that I was looking for, I just figured that wasn't my guy. And that doesn't mean that he's a bad person. That just means that we're not compatible. And appearance doesn't just affect dating. It affects how people treat you in general. One time I was at a sushi restaurant and I ordered this vegan nigiri that was eggplant. This was around the time that I lost the 30 pounds. And the server actually came back a few seconds after he took my order and he said, just to let you know, the piece that you ordered is actually deep fried. Is that okay? And I was like, yes, that's fine. But I later thought about it. If I had been in a bigger body, would he have asked that question? Maybe not, but because I looked fit and lean, he probably assumed that fried food wasn't something that I normally eat. And that moment made me realize how quickly people make assumptions based on appearance. Another example is if I'm walking into the store and I have a dress and heels, or heels and a skirt and a blouse, people approach me differently. They assume that I'm shopping for something important. But if I walk in wearing a workout set, and if I'm not shopping for like workout attire, sometimes people barely acknowledge me. And honestly, sometimes I do that when I don't want to be bothered, but the difference is real. People make assumptions within seconds. So when people say appearance matters, I believe that 100%. Your appearance is a form of communication. It tells people about your lifestyle, your standards, and how you expect to be treated. But none of this works if the foundation isn't there. Confidence, self-respect, standards. At the end of the day, the internal creates the external. The internal creates that energy. But the external is what people first see. And together, those two things really shape the opportunities that come into your life.